So
Mm.
hi everyone. Welcome to today's masterclass as usual. Today we are doing something around well-being, and we are doing it with another friend of the Black Builders Network, another friend of the Founders Connect team, um, Yvonne. Yvonne is a certified psychologist and coach, right? And today she would be taking us through how to avoid or recover from entrepreneurial burnout. And I feel like this topic is very timely because a lot has been happening, within this first quarter and a half that we have, experienced of 2025. And I think it would be useful for a lot of us here to, get some insights, some tips on how to come out of all of the many drama that had happened, this year with all the tariffs and all of that stuff. All right. So over to you, Yvonne.
Okay,
Introduce yourself. Let's let the community get to know you.
thank you. It would help if you start sharing the screen, because part of my introduction is actually in the
Oh, okay.
slides. So
Let me see
that'll
if
be
I can
helpful.
get.
But yes, everyone, my name is Yvonne, and I'll tell you more about everything he said about me is true. I'll tell you more about myself as we start the session. So it's actually a part of the session. So this is going to be an interactive session. I prefer to have sessions where I can get everyone to talk and I can get everyone to actually really reflect and leave the session understanding why they are here and with the same objective that they came into the session with, and even leaving with their objectives exceeded or their expectations exceeded. So we wanted to talk about, when I was asked, what can I talk about and what topic do I want to address, I decided to talk about burnout, because burnout is something some of us don't believe in. Some people don't believe in, not me. Burnout is also something that I have lived through. It's something that I've seen people around me struggle with. It's something that I have seen people heal from and then relapse as well. And why I chose, burnout to balance is because the lifestyle, what you actually need when you are suffering burnout is to achieve a life of balance. And that is like the ultimate, right? Living that balanced life and understanding what balance means, not just work-life balance, not just work-life balance, but a complete system balance. And by system, I mean everything about you, your mental, your spiritual, emotional, physical health, everything is in balance. And then healing the hustle. I think for me, when I was thinking about the community and what is the common thread here, the thing about running a business, which I have done in the past and I'm doing again at this current phase of my life, is if you ask anyone most people run the business, they'll tell you, man, it's a hustle, right? People are actually hustling out there. But years ago, I rejected hustle culture. And I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm building something, but I'm no longer hustling. Very two different things. And today we're going to talk about what that means and why hustle is probably what is burning you up. But then the interesting thing about today's class is that I'm going to bring a very neuroscience informed perspective to it. And what that means in very broken down terms is I'm a neuroscientist and I'm going to tell you what burnout does to your brain and why it is very important for you to pay attention to it. Okay. So yeah, Yvonne, your facilitator for today. Let's be friends. Let's just don't consider this an expertise or an expert who is just talking to you about expert stuff. Think of me like your big sis who's just giving you a pep talk. So let's talk. It's not a very large group today. So I'll try as much as possible to make it as engaging, and please let's make use of the comment section. And for every question that I ask, I would be expecting people to put their answers in the chat, and maybe one or two people can speak, but we're going to try to make it as, I'm just imagining that we're all in a room together and we're just talking. That's what I'm going to imagine this as. So I hope that you also bring that energy and that vibe to it. So the next slide, please, Tega. Yeah, so I've already gone through this. So this is going to be a 60-minute healing and strategy session for all of you. And all of you are creative, you are ambitious entrepreneurs. Maybe you're overwhelmed, maybe you're exhausted, or you're quietly burning out. But there is something that interested you and brought you to this session. That's it. You are all visionary entrepreneurs. Could you please stay back on that slide? Thank you. You're all visionary entrepreneurs. You are entrepreneurs with high capacity, but you're human, right? And one of the things I want us to talk about in the session is how we redefine what building is and what working on a business is. So I want us to talk about how to care for your nervous system today. I want us to talk about business alignment. I want us to talk about honoring your body and your brain in the process of building your business. So the first question that I have for everyone here is, what is the one word that can describe how you're feeling right now in your body and in your mind? I'm going to teach you all the ability to answer tough questions on the spot. So if you're not used to thinking about how you feel, you're going to spend the next 1 hour doing that. So this is a warning. If you're not used to thinking about what's happening inside your body, you're going to spend the next 1 hour doing it. So I'm going to ask the question again. Just drop in the chat one word that describes how you're feeling right now in your body and in your mind. Tega, do you want to lead the way and give us one word that describes how you're feeling in your body and in your mind right now?
I think my go-to word would be tired for the most part. I think I've had a difficult week at work. So yes, when I think about the week and how I feel at the moment, I am tired, right? So yeah, that's my one word.
Wow, okay. Thank you for sharing. So I'll be using you a lot for sound bites. So please just pay attention. If you were planning to just mute yourself and go and cook, you're going to be here for the next hour. Okay, so I'm seeing you can stay on this slide. So I'm seeing a lot of you can move to the next slide rather. I'm seeing a lot of anxious, a lot of exhausted in my mind. Someone says concerned. Someone said tired. Well, there's a lot of tired. There's a lot of tired here. There is sluggish. There's, welcome. Welcome, everybody. I wish I could give everybody a hug. Everyone who's tired and exhausted and sluggish and all of that. But, maybe we can chop virtual hug for now. But welcome. You're in the right place. And I hope that by the end of this session, you feel some sort of weight just kind of like lift from you. So a little bit about me. This was what Tega was trying to get me to talk about. Sorry, it's taking this long. But yeah, like I said, I'm a neuroscientist, I'm a coach. I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm building stuff and it's hard, like when the sales are not coming in, you're just wondering what is going on, right? And sometimes you do the one thing, you do several things and you're like, this is it. This is the one. This is the one that is going to work. Then it's not. And then you come up with another feature. This is the one that's going to work. And then you don't blow. And then you come up with something else. I can imagine I feel it, I live it. So I know that is very exhausting. And for me, I'm cushioning that with my corporate career. So I also have a corporate career on the side. And I'm sure for a lot of you, you don't even have that on the side. So I can imagine how very exhausting this must be. That was a time when I was a full-time entrepreneur as well, and it was incredibly exhausting. I'm also a writer. I've been doing a lot of fan fiction lately in an anonymous way, but I love creative writing. I love fiction, actually, as well. I love building reflective journals. I'm the founder of a UK-based wellness company called Well Working and Living. And we just focus on science-backed resources to help people like you live balanced lives. I'm currently pursuing my second postgraduate degree at King's College London. And I have been diagnosed with functional neurological disorder. I was not sure whether to share this, but I was like, you know what? Let's bring it home and let's make this real. But it's one of the things that can happen to you when you ignore early burnout signs for a very long time. And yeah, it can really, really affect you and your brain. And we are going to talk a lot about it. So yeah, I teach from both the science aspect and the lived experience. So listen to me, just try. I know what I'm saying. But yeah, I've worked in corporate, I've built businesses, I've studied the brain, and I've also been burnt out. But the work that I'm bringing here today really is how can I teach you to integrate all of those worlds together so that you can actually build your life of purpose, and so that you can actually work and live a life thriving without collapsing under the weight of all of it. So that's my intention for today. So the next slide, please. Why are we here? By the end of this session, I don't want you to just leave this session. I'm hoping you don't just leave this session with quick fixes. I'm hoping that you're able to go to the root of what is going on emotionally, neurologically, and behaviorally, right? And I'm hoping that you're able to create sustainable ways to prevent burnout from reoccurring again. And then I have another question for all of you. What is the one thing that you hope to walk away with today? So studies have shown that when we actually set learning goals for ourselves, not the one that the educator brought into the session, but when we set learning goals for ourselves in a session, we are more likely to leave the session with, tools to actually put into practice. So what is the one thing you hope to walk away with today? Please put that in the chat. Thank you. And Tega, you can move to the next slide as well. I'd like to see stuff in the chat. Tega, you can drop your owner. Understand the signs of burnout. Great. Well, I guess we're already on that slide. Fantastic. You're in the right room. How to deal with it? You're in the right session. So I'm going to start. What does burnout really look like? When people hear burnout, what do they think? Let me ask you that. What the last time you had burnout, how did it feel for you? How did it feel in your body? Basically, just if looking at the screen right now, you can see the different ways that burnout actually looks like, because burnout is not just body, it's also brain breakdown. It can lead to emotional numbness, reactivity, memory issues, poor decision making. Have you ever felt like you're actually good at making decisions, but suddenly over a period of time, you become very terrible at making decisions? It's like you suddenly have a lapse in judgment. Like things that usually wouldn't fly past you are flying past you. Things that you wouldn't necessarily waste a lot of time trying to decide on, all of a sudden, you just can't make a simple decision. Poor decision making can be a symptom of burnout. It can. Loss of drive and joy, insomnia, chronic fatigue, gut issues, insomnia. Some people have actual sleep disorders, but that's different from when you're actually experiencing the insomnia of burnout. Because if normally for you usually sleep fine, you usually sleep well, but then over a period of time, you're just not sleeping well any longer. So chronic fatigue, gut issues. I know my own was, I was experiencing reactivity. I was highly reactive. Poor decision making as well. Definitely loss of drive and joy, especially the joy part. I was having very severe gut issues as well. Insomnia, I wasn't sleeping well. Then shame, just constant shame. I was like living in this chronic shame, and I was just constantly feeling like I was not doing enough. So yeah, someone said felt like everything was moving in slow motion. Yes, it just feels like you're not in the present. You're not moving at the same pace as everything else is. Either you're moving too fast or you're moving too slow, right? The same way sometimes when some people are depressed, they can either oversleep or undersleep. So, right. So all of these are all symptoms of burnout. Burnout is really a full body alarm, right? It's not just, oh, I'm tired or I'm constantly tired. Your cognitive and emotional system are actively breaking down. And the biggest trap of it all is thinking that more work, more achievements, more productivity, more output will fix the emptiness. That's the biggest trap of burnout. When you don't name it what it is, you suddenly think that the more you do, the less you would feel the way you feel. And then you get on the hedonic treadmill. You get on this achievement treadmill, thinking that that is supposed to fix you, or that is supposed to fix the emptiness that you feel on the inside. So let's move to the next slide, and let me tell you a very quick story. So my burnout story. The good thing, no, it's not the good thing. The thing about burnout is we might talk about it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, right? But burnout is a mix of every other thing in your life. It's, if you tell yourself the truth, it's not just work that's burning you out. Because when you look at your life like a pie chart where you have your social life, your family, your relationships, and so many other aspects of your life, if those cups are full and it's just your occupational life that is depleting, those areas of your life are able to keep giving into your occupational life. But what really leads to that low point of burnout is when all the other cups are struggling as well. So if you tell yourself the truth, the areas that you think that are causing your burnout are probably not the only areas of your life that are depleting or suffering, if you're honest with yourself. Yeah. So in my case, it was a mix of different things. And the two biggest ones were occupational burnout and romantic burnout. It was social burnout generally. So my relationship with my family, just generally my relationship. And I was in a toxic relationship at that time. And I kept pushing for years. I kept pushing and pushing and pushing until one day I just literally could not get out of bed. Why? Because I ignored every sign that my body was telling me. I ignored all of the signs. I suddenly became anemic. I was going to the clinic and I was still anemic, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And I didn't listen to it. I just thought, okay, maybe I'm not eating well. Why am I not eating well? Right? So I was dealing with symptoms. And even when I didn't have energy to cook nourishing food. So because I didn't have energy, I was now feeding myself with junk food because I thought the problem was that I wasn't eating well. So I was addressing symptoms instead of actually addressing the issues themselves. So I actually woke up one morning and that was my breaking point. Like, I had to rebuild everything. I had to rebuild my nervous system. I had to rebuild my schedule, my self-worth even. I had to start from scratch. Left the job, left the relationship, began my healing journey, holistic healing journey. And this was about 3 years ago now. And today I'm happy to say I live from a place of rest, I'm not performing for anybody, but it's still a daily decision. Because once you've experienced burnout, it's very easy to have a relapse. And we are going to talk about what having a relapse looks like and how to prevent that. So I want you to drop something in the chat again. Have you ever ignored your body until it forced you to stop? Either you share yes in the chat or you share almost. I'm also open to 1 or 2 people sharing their thoughts or, sharing any part of their story if they want to.
Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Kizito.
Yeah, so I can relate with, some of the feelings that you highlighted. I also experienced burnout in 2023. And I was just very close to, doing something drastic to myself. On the outside, I was making progress. I just got in, a new job, higher paying job. Everything looked good on the outside, but internally it was just I couldn't stop. I wanted to stop. But I just kept on going. There are days where I wouldn't want to wake up the next day. And I would dread, even checking WhatsApp or even social media in general. I just had this feeling like I just wanted to end everything. But yeah, that was a terrible place. Even just thinking about it now, having goosebumps and all of that. But yeah, safe to say, I'm in a better place now. And I'm really looking forward, to the rest of this conversation and just, sort of like playing back the times at things I could have done differently or, perspectives I could have had that could have saved me from being in that space. But yeah, thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you so much. That was very vulnerable of you to share. I wish I had a gold star to give you, but I don't have a gold star. But imagine that I'm giving you a gold star. Actually, I think I can drop a reaction. Let me drop a heart reaction. Yeah. Hey, I did not plan to drop a laugh. Oh, you're the one that dropped that. Okay. All right. So I'm sending you lots of love. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's not easy to share your burnout story. It's really not, especially, and one of the most extreme parts of burnout is feeling like we're so out of control that you just want to end it all. Like it is a huge cry for help, right? It really is. It's happened to me. It's happened to quite a number of people as well. So you're definitely not alone. So what causes burnout? We're going to talk about that next. Tega, could you please move to the next slide? There are lots of things that cause burnout. And the reason why I put this slide specifically is, again, we are very used to treating the symptoms of burnout instead of the root cause. And a lot of times people just think it's because I've overworked. I have overworked. Oh, no. That's why I said we are not here to talk about work-life balance. That's not the kind of balance. I mean, yes, there is that, but it's a holistic approach to understanding why you may be burning out. Overworking is not the only reason you burn out. It's a bunch of things. It's value misalignment. It's overfunctioning and overgiving. I like the term overgiving because when I see recovering people pleaser here, when I see people who say, oh, I give a lot and I don't receive in return, sis, you ain't got no boundaries. That was me. Because people like to take, and if you get them to a place where they're comfortable receiving from you without you pausing to ask, this person I'm giving this, Are they giving me the same thing in return? Or am I giving them expecting that the more I give, hopefully one day they will start giving me in return? You just don't have boundaries, because the moment you notice that you're not on the same, you're not receiving as much as you're giving, your boundaries are supposed to kick in immediately. Lots of people who overfunction and overgive as well feel it's their responsibility to fix everything. So they make it their responsibility. If someone tells you something they're lacking or a problem, your brain goes into, how can I make it better for you? How can I fix it for you? I know that you're a caring person. I know you're kind. I know that you want to help people. But the truth is, you also have to ask yourself, what does this person need from me right now? Empower people to ask for what they need. Learn to empower people to ask for what they need, especially if you're going to be going out of your way to do that. If it's just a small thing, like helping someone with a very small chore or whatever, that's different. But learn to have people ask for what they need. So anyway, I went off a tangent there. Overfunctioning and overgiving, shame-led ambition. This is a thing. Show of hands if you've ever found yourself working on a project that you felt bullied to work on. Like, you felt like you're only doing this project because you don't want to let someone down. I mean, I'm raising my hands. You don't want to let someone down, or you don't want it to look like you're not doing well, or you don't want people to think that you're missing out on like the biggest new technology or new industry or new stuff out there. Some people are working in industries that they're afraid that if they don't enter that industry, it's over for them. Lots of women are doing that with tech. And I say this with this is being recorded. Whew. Let me remember that it is. But the truth is, a lot of times we find ourselves in industries that, the truth is, these industries don't feed us, or these jobs or these projects or these types of products we're building don't necessarily feed us, right? And we find ourselves in these, and the truth is, my personal story, I worked so hard to try to build my career as a product manager because I felt tech is where it's at. I'm earning a lot of money here, but the tech industry was not for me. Very male-driven, very hustle-driven, and I'm trying to reject hustle culture. So I had to give myself that integrity of decision and leave. And now I'm thriving. I'm still in the STEM field, but I'm defining what my career looks like outside of shame-led ambition. Shame-led ambition shows up in many ways as well. It's, oh, I have to chase the bag. I have to do this. I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. And the truth is, you're not even asking yourself, does this align with my life in any way? Does this align with my purpose? So shame-led ambition is a real thing, and it can actually cause burnout. Now, poor boundaries and no recovery rhythm. This poor boundaries and no recovery is for the overworkers in the room. That's why I said that's only one part of overwork, of burnout. Not having boundaries, checking your emails at 4 a.m., responding to your boss at a certain time, just never saying no to more work, no recovery rhythm. I'm glad I put the two of them together, because it's not just about not having poor boundaries, because sometimes the truth is we're all builders here. So we know that there are some times where we need to, maybe burn the midnight candle a little, do a few overnight type of thing, but then we treat the rest of the week like none of that happened. No, we need to have recovery. Okay, if I want to do a 2-day sprint with my team, like work for 12 hours, code for 12 hours straight, for example, what is our recovery plan afterward? Most of us don't have recovery plans. And then we have survival mode business building. I'm going to shake this table. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to do it. Some of y'all are building businesses while you're trying to feed. Some of you are building businesses when you're trying to pay rent and you're struggling to pay rent, and you are, see, when you build business from a place of survival, you and that business will be trying to survive. That's the truth. You and the business will be trying to survive. Survival mode business building is one of the biggest causes of entrepreneurial burnout. It was for me years ago. And it's I'm not saying nobody should be a full-time entrepreneur, but you have to be realistic and ask yourself the truth. Okay, do I have the sufficient funds for this? Do I have the sufficient support, resources? What do I need? We're going to talk about, there's a separate slide on all of that and how to find alignment. We're going to talk about that, but you need to ask yourself the questions. Will I be building this business from a place of survival? And when you build a business from a place of survival, man, your integrity will be tested. It will be tested. And then when you fall for it, the cycle of shame will start. And then remember, shame-led ambition, more burnout problems. Everything, poor boundaries, valueless and misalignment, because your integrity has been tested and you fell for it. Doesn't mean you're not a person of integrity, but you fell that one time. And now there's a value misalignment, and then there's over-functioning, and there's over-giving. Like, you just enter into the whole cycle. It's a vicious cycle. So ask yourself today, while we're on this call, am I building me and my business? Are we trying to see the light of tomorrow? Both of us together. Ask yourself that question. It's very key. Your basic needs don't give an F about your business. Your basic needs. That's what drives your brain. Your brain knows that your brain's most important mission in your life is to keep you alive and meet your basic needs, right? So your brain is only interested in your feeding, in your shelter. So if your brain is in survival mode, you're not going to be creative. You might think, it might make you smart and think of the shortest cut, but so many other things will be burnt in the process. So sometimes we think we're building businesses, but we are actually building coping mechanisms. And these coping mechanisms really start to fail. And so value misalignment, that's when all of this come into the picture, and it drains your executive function. Value misalignment drains your executive functions, and it makes every task feel like a resistance. We'll move to the next slide while that sinks in for a bit. What does stress do to your brain? The first thing stress does to your brain is cortisol overload. If anyone is with me, hands up in the chat, like, just let me know that you all are following what I'm saying. That's just, if I was in the class with you, then I know you're following what I'm saying, but I can't see your face. So just let me know in the chat. Great, fantastic. So what does stress do to your brain? Cortisol overload. That's the first thing. Cortisol overload is also known as chronic stress, because cortisol is the stress hormone in the body. And an overload of it is what causes chronic stress. And it leads to things like inflammation, memory loss, fatigue. Prefrontal cortex shutdown. This is the CEO of your brain is the prefrontal cortex, right? It's like the executive, the center of the brain that's responsible for executive functioning. So when you are stressed, you start having decision-making fatigue, and you start being more reactive and impulsive. Now, there's a dopamine dysregulation. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, also known as a hormone. A huge percentage of your dopamine is also created in the gut. And that's why sometimes when you eat certain food, you feel satisfied with your life. But yes, when it's dysregulated because of stress, you experience loss of joy and creativity. Yep. And then the last one is nervous system dysregulation. That's when you start feeling hypervigilant, collapse of your cycles. Like, it's like someone said, it feels like everything's moving too slow. This is it. Your nervous system is just dysregulated, completely dysregulated. So you see, burnout is actually terrible for your brain. It's actually bad. So if burnout doesn't scare you, just remember what it can do to your brain. You actually start feeling less intelligent in life. You start feeling like you ain't smart because of burnout. So when you stay in prolonged stress, just remember that your brain is literally rewiring to survive. You have to remember that, not to thrive. The goal is to get your brain to a place where it's partnering with you to thrive. If your brain is only on survival mode, there's no difference between you and Adam. There's no difference between you and the cavemen, because that's all their brain was doing for them, trying to avoid saber-tooth tigers and every other thing that was going to kill them. Do you still live in the wild? Do you still live in the ice age? Nope. So why is your brain only trying to make you survive? You live in a complicated world, in a world where to get ahead, your brain is actually supposed to help you thrive. So burnout takes you back to survival mode, and you don't want that. Your brain also starts to shut down as a result of burnout. Higher level thinking starts to shrink. You start having problems thinking about strategy. You default to old patterns. So if you used to abuse substances or just had all those bad habits, you kind of like go back to that. And rest alone will not heal burnout. You need a full system recalibration. So let's move to the next slide. If you learned something new from this slide, just raise your hand in the chat. Sorry, we're going to be doing a lot of chatmatics today, because that's how I can make sure that we're all following, because some of these things might be new to you. So why does burnout return? This is another very good thing. Burnout does not fade, like I said. It doesn't just fade. It recycles if the root of it is not addressed, especially if you build again with the same hustle logic or wounded urgency. If you're building that way again, burnout is going to return, right? If you only treated the symptoms and not the system, it will return. If you didn't change your business model or beliefs, it will return. If you return to people-pleasing patterns, it will return. If you skipped the maintenance phase, it will return. If you never address the trauma stored in your body, it will return. And don't worry, don't fret. I will give you all the tips and everything you need to know about not letting burnout return. Next slide, please. Fantastic. So we're going to talk about the cycle of change. Oh, this image is small, but I hope you can all see it. I'm looking this way because it's bigger on my screen here, so I can see what I'm sharing with you. So the cycle of change it's a psychological tool that a lot of therapists use, or even psychologists use, to talk to people about what happens in their lives and in their psychological well-being when they're trying to change a habit or change a behavior, to be specific. It is a cycle because it's not linear. So you can easily go around it and come back to the very beginning, like you're starting from scratch. Starting from ground zero. So the first phase is actually the preparation phase, basically. Contemplation. You are recognizing the issue and you're saying, oh, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. This is a bit wrong. It's in multiple places. Okay, so after this session, I owe everyone the actual, like the correct cycle of change. This is wrong. So the first one is actually the pre-contemplation phase. So the pre-contemplation phase, so it's going anti-clockwise instead of clockwise. So it starts from pre-contemplation and then it goes anti-clockwise. So the pre-contemplation phase is where you are unaware that there is a problem. I don't know if you've ever had that friend that they're giving you gist and you can see they're the red flag, but they don't know. They are very sure that it's the other person that is the problem. They don't know that there is a problem. Then maybe they come back and they're now giving you the gist, but in a different perspective, they're now realizing, I think I contributed to this mess. Contemplation phase. Then they come back months later and they're like, you know what? I think I want to change my life, right? I'm tired of attracting the same douchebags all the time. Preparation. They're planning the change. And then 1 year goes down. They're still in that same relationship, or they're still with that same employee that is giving them headache. And then finally, after 1 year, they're like, I've decided I'm going to change this behavior. I'm going to do this. I'm going to fire this person, or I'm going to leave this relationship, or I'm going to stop doing XYZ in my life. I'm going to go to the gym. And they start, right? And you actually see them, they're sustaining the habit, they're going to the gym, they find accountability partners. It's going well for, like, let's say, maybe they made that decision in January because everybody does that in January. And by March, they're tired. They go back to their old ways because they have relapsed. And then maybe after 2 years, they come back and remember that there is a problem. And then they go back to contemplation. So this is the cycle of change, and this is what happens in our brain. So my question for you today, where do you see yourself right now on this cycle of change? Think about one problem in your life that when you were thinking about burnout in the beginning of this session, that thing that you felt like, this is what is giving me this burnout. Where do you think you stand when it comes to changing that thing in your life right now? I'm also happy for someone to talk. You have 10 seconds to raise your hand. Anyone? So this is my signature framework that I created for this session, but not just for this session, actually. I've always had an ease method that I've thought whenever I'm giving my burnout to balance talk. And it is a great way to get through burnout recovery, right? And it's just an acronym. And E stands for environmental boundaries. Again, I'm looking this way because my screen is bigger here. So E stands for environmental boundaries, right? So this is how do you structure your time, your relationships to protect your peace. Very important. So time blocking, learning how to say no, dedicating time for rest, having like a recovery plan, like we said. Sometimes, recovering from burnout is unfollowing people who trigger shame or urgency in your life, right? There are some people you follow and all of a sudden they're making you feel like if you've not started doing XYZ, you're behind, right? Sometimes creating environmental boundaries is actually unfollowing such people. And then the next thing, A stands for awareness and acceptance. And this, is about knowing your patterns and your energy cycles without judgment. Know your patterns, know your energy cycle. For women, understand your cycle, like understand your menstrual cycle and understand how that drives your productivity in a month. for everyone else, just understand your daily flow, your daily cycles. At what points of the day are you more productive? At what points of the day is it easier for you to get into flow? At what points of the day do you experience an energy crash or a dip? Learn your cycles without shame, right? People are different. Our brains are wired differently as well. Track your symptoms without self-blame. Understand what are the symptoms of my current burnout, right? So earlier in this session, I listed the ways to recognize burnout. So ask yourself which are contributing to my burnout at this point. Now, the S stands for somatic healing and scheduling breaks. So use body-based tools like breath work. See, if you're experiencing burnout, there is no other way around it. You have to learn how to breathe. The same way the doctor will tell you, you have to take malaria medicine if you have malaria. Malaria does not go on its own. Bacterial infections don't go on their own. Unfortunately, you have to take antibiotics for them. Literally the same thing I'm telling you right now. Burnout needs breath work. It needs exercise. It needs rest. It needs grounding. Burnout can't only be treated mentally. It needs to also be treated physically. And it's not just rest, like, okay, I'm not working. No, you need to learn to breathe. So there's something called the parasympathetic nervous system. It's the rest and digest phase of your brain and your nervous system. It's activated when you breathe. And it releases a neurotransmitter called GABA, which actually helps you relax and calm down. Literally. And it helps every other part of your brain function better, especially your executive functions. So breathing is a huge restorative practice. So breath work, there's so many ways to do breath work. There's the 4x4x4x4 technique, breathing in for 4, holding in for 4, breathing out for 4, holding out for 4. If you don't learn any other thing in this session, take that away. 4x4x4x4 technique. Breathing for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold out for 4 seconds. Period. That's it. I know like 10 different breath works, but I can teach that one today. Stretch is easy. Go to YouTube. 5-minute stretching videos, right? Take naps. Naps are great. Use biofeedback. Ask yourself, where am I holding stress, right? There's something I do. I have so many kinds of small massagers, right? Sometimes we hold stress depending on the type of tension. If it's like work, like productive stress, we hold it in the neck, like in the neck here because of, the way we sit. If it's anxiety stress, like trauma, anxiety, we hold it in the hips. So doing like a hip stretching stretching exercise like yoga could actually help you eliminate that stress. Using a neck massager can help you eliminate the stress in the neck. And then, like you can also do like foot massages. These are actually really, really good. So understanding where you're holding stress is important. And then enterprise redesign. This is a very key part of burnout recovery. It's like that whole system redesign, right? Align offers with your energy. Change the way you earn. So I talked about understanding if you're in survival mode, right? Don't build a business that empties you. Some people have built a business around something that is not their strength. You've built a business that demands that you're constantly in front of people. You've built a business that demands that you're constantly raising money. And when you're not a salesperson, or even you don't have the resources to even hire one, right? So you've built a business that demands something of you that is not your strength. You are not leading from a strengths-based perspective, and that will drain you. That will burn you out. So you need to build a business that is designed with your natural rhythm. Yes, I know that this business will outlive you and you would hire people, but at this beginning phase, you are a team of 10 in one. That's the truth. So you need to build a business that aligns with how you are designed and how you are wired. And you need to, yes, I'm not saying you're not going to improve your strength, your weaknesses. You are. But again, positive psychology posits the theory of strengths-based building. And when you build something from a place of strength, you're more likely to succeed, right? So don't build a business that empties you. Align offers with your energy, not just your skills. Build systems for delegation, batching, and passive income. Very important. Learn how to move your business from active income to passive income. I did that for my business as well. I don't even take coaching clients anymore. I found a way to put out my content out there, and so that people can access my content without accessing my energy. Yeah, passive income. So this is a very, very important slide in understanding how to design your world of business and your world of work in a way that can help you prevent burnout, or even in a way that can help you still treat your current burnout. What is your wheel of intentional work? This is very important. Ask yourself, does what I do right now, my life, my business, my work, my occupation, does it fit into all of the pies in this chart? 1, energy. Does it ignite energy in me? Very, very important. Does it drain energy from me, or does it ignite energy from me? There's some people that by the time they speak to 1 or 3 investors, they are like, I cannot do this. Right. So is your business draining your energy, or is it igniting energy? Very, very key. You want a business that most of the time ignites your energy. It's not that you're not going to do tasks that are annoying. You may have to do tasks that are annoying, but if your business is 70% draining your energy, that's a huge problem, right? So your business should ignite energy more than it drains energy. Does it spark joy? Do you find true fulfillment and joy in the little things involved in running your business? When I was setting up my e-commerce store, I was just happy for no reason. It just felt like buying and selling. And it felt so good, just counting inventory, choosing the vendors to work with, checking out very beautiful, pretty journals. Already you can see my house. I like fine things. I like flashy things. So having to curate that for my store was very, very, it brought a lot of joy and fresh air to me. Is it simple? If you want to talk to someone about what you're doing and you feel like it's too complex to even talk about, there's a problem. Simplicity. Can your business be broken down into the simplest format, into the simplest? I have a retail store that just sells wellness products, period. What kind of wellness products? We start with journals. That's it. So can you say the same for your business? How simple is it? And then support. Are you the only one actually running your business? Do you have support? Support may not be paid employees, but do you have people that you can lean on? Do you have a network? Do you have friends that can support you? Do you have someone that you can go to even when you just need to be poured into? Even if person is not helping you financially or anything, but the person can speak life into you and that business. You can't run your business by yourself. You absolutely can. So if your social life, your friends, your family, if you're struggling in that area of your life, then you don't have support. So you have to ask yourself, do you have support? Profitability. I mean, this is not a business class. I don't even have an MBA, but I feel like this one is easy for it. It should be the basics of it all. Can you see a clear path to profit from the very beginning? Not in 3 years, not in 5 years. From the very beginning, if I were to sell one product, just one product, will I make a profit? Not if I were to sell 10, then I'll make a profit. No. If I were to sell one product, would I make a profit? If the answer is no, okay, I'm not saying you should not run the business regardless, but at least know. Know where your problems are coming from. Know that. And then we have purpose. Does your business align with your purpose here on earth? This one, I can have a whole session about purpose, but that's not what we're here for today. So you need to save this wheel of intentional work and use it to assess your current business, your current work. Whether you run the business, a side hustle. Honey, your side hustle is your business. Whether you're running a business, a side hustle, or even your job, right? Assess your wheel of intentional work. Which area of this wheel is feeling most depleted for you right now?
Yvonne, you're putting me on the spot.
I am putting you on the spot, yes.
I would say that the most depleted one for me would be between energy and simplicity. But then I'm thinking about simplicity from the POV of results, right? But then you can draw a straight line from trying to achieve results to energy. It's tired. In fact, when I was speaking earlier and I said that I was tired, I think a kind of tiredness would be lethargic. And lethargy has a lot to do with energy to do stuff. Right. So I think that the one that would be the most depleted is energy in relation to like the simplicity of the stuff that I have to do. I have to like rack my brain, and it looks like fetching water with a basket from the ocean. It's like a lot of work, but the result is not resulting. You get, so yeah.
So let's talk about how you rebuild, right? How do you rebuild with rituals? You need, one thing I did when I burnt out 3 years ago was to actually rebuild. And I found out how I was working with a professional who also let me know that I have to rebuild with rituals. So I have to start. And what rituals do for you is that they create a rhythm. And your brain loves rhythm because rhythm creates safety, and safety creates creativity. If your brain is not feeling safe enough, it will not create. And your brain needs a rhythm to feel safe. So one of the things I had to do was try to give my brain that sense of control. So I started journaling to recenter myself. I used to say I'm not a journaling person. I don't even know how to journal. But then I learned that there are different types of journaling. Journaling is not just stream of consciousness journaling, right? Where people just have a blank page and they're writing whatever comes to mind. That's not the only type of journaling that exists. There's gratitude journaling. There is prompted journaling. And so I found out prompted journaling, and I had to buy prompted journals. You can find them on our website. And then I found those and I started journaling. And I had to tell myself, the truth is, I want to be the kind of woman who is balanced, who is thriving, who is not reactive, who is not anxious all the time, who is not burnt out, right? Because I have things I want to build. I want to show up for my family. I want to show up for my kids. I want to show up for my partner. I want to show up for everyone in my life. And because of that, if this woman has to learn to journal, to recenter herself, I will be that woman. So yeah, so ask yourself, what type of person are you saying are you or are you not? And as a result, you can't build these rituals in your life. Movement is also important. Oh, I don't go to the gym. I don't work out. I don't have the energy for that. Same thing. Who do you actually want to become? Why is it important to you? And then that took me back to the gym. And I also had to learn, what kind of workout person am I? I'm not really a gym person. At-home workouts are more for me, or synchronized workout, like going for Pilates classes, social workout. Those are more for me. So learn who you are and don't be ashamed of who you are, basically. Deep work cycles, right? Body breaks. Learn to do deep work. Deep work and getting into flow can fix your brain. Deep work and getting into flow can fix your brain, because then you start training your brain. When you're constantly anxious, your brain is using a wave called the beta wave all the time. And so when you train your brain to move from a beta wave state to the alpha wave over time, because that's the state that you get into when you're deep working, that's the state you also get into when you're in flow. When your brain is in the alpha wave, you create without judgment. You create your best work. And when you train your brain to constantly get into the alpha wave, to create without judgment and to create your best, you're healing your cognitive functions. I know I'm sounding like a Nigerian pastor. But you're healing your cognitive functions. I hope I'm hitting somewhere. Please, if you're following, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. I wish I could see everybody, but I can't. But if you're following, let me know. I'm trying as much as possible to break this down as much as I can. So another thing you need to do is learn to celebrate everything. Do you know, I celebrate everything. If my nails are looking on point, it's a whole celebration. Celebration sometimes is not throwing a party. It can be taking a picture. So when I take a picture of my nails, I know I'm feeling myself, right? When my hair looks fly and I take a picture, I'm celebrating it. I celebrate every damn thing. Everything. Oh, I did the most today. I cleared my inbox from 200 emails to 0. I'm celebrating that maybe with a top of ice cream or something. So learn to celebrate. Have non-work hobbies as well. What do you do outside of work? What do you do outside of work? Is your life that product that you're building, or do you have a life outside of work? Non-work hobbies can create transferable skills. Train your brain to make patterns. Sometimes that's how you know highly intelligent people. Highly intelligent people don't have a bigger brain. They are not you. We only use 10% of our brains, and maybe highly intelligent people use more than that. That's a myth. That's a myth, please. Highly intelligent people actually know how to use their brain better. They understand the concept of parallel working of the brain. They know how to draw patterns faster, because work is not the only thing they do. When you engage in hobbies, your brain learns to pick patterns from those hobbies to work. And you can easily cross-reference ideas. That's what makes you a highly intelligent person and a very creative person. It improves your problem-solving skills as well. Again, the idea that maybe playing crosswords or playing Sudoku makes you more intelligent is a myth. The more you play Sudoku, the more you get better at playing Sudoku. The more you do crosswords, the more you get better at doing crosswords. You're not transferring those skills. But having hobbies, learning a new language, these are ways to actually activate other functions of your brain. And the last is Sabbath. I usually say there are 2 things that you would never catch me sleeping on. 3, actually. I will never have my corporate 9-to-5 work email on my phone. It's never going to happen unless it is a work phone. And that work phone, be sure it's going off at 5. Second, you'll never catch me sleeping on. I will always have 1 day a week that is dedicated to no calls. If I must take a call on that day, it's not going to be a video call, and I will let you know I'm doing a no video call day. And the final is my Sabbath. I have 1 day a week that I'm not interested in being productive. Not interested in being productive at all. And the final part of our session is the next page in the chat as well. And so when I'm saying put things in the chat, it's also helping your brain make connections, because your brain is not going to forget what you put in the chat. It's actually not. That's the secret of learning. Your brain is not going to forget what you put in the chat. It's helping it make connections. So if you saw a ritual that you felt, I could actually implement this, and it will be easy for me to do, put it in the chat, and that way your brain anchors that. So Tega, can you share that previous slide just for a second? So they actually see the list of the rituals again. So journaling to recenter, movement, very important, deep work cycles, plus body breaks, celebration, non-work hobbies, and your Sabbath. What is your Sabbath? What is your own definition of Sabbath? If that was the one thing you were to implement, what would be your own definition of Sabbath? And the next slide, we can go there. For this slide, everyone is going to have to unmute. We are going to speak together. Again, the reason why we're doing this is we want to anchor it in the brain. The brain does not know the difference between perceived and real. When you think, if you close your eyes and think about something scary, you will experience a physical reaction of fear, even if that thing is not real. I don't know if anyone has done this. Do you ever sit and imagine losing a parent or a loved one, even though they're still alive, and you actually see yourself crying? Okay, maybe that's weird. Maybe you guys are not as weird as I am. But but the idea of what I'm trying to say is, if you think about something that hasn't happened, whether it's real or perceived, your brain would treat it the same way it would treat if that thing is happening real. So when we affirm these things, or when we affirm the sentences on the screen, we are trying to register it into our brain. Of course, if just saying it one time today is not going to change it, but saying it today for the first time, saying it out loud, will set it into motion. This deck will be shared after, and so you can copy this out, you can take a picture, but you have to learn, you have to practice being able to say these things. And these are sentences of boundaries, right? You don't have to say it exactly this way, but let's empower ourselves. So everyone go off mute, and we're going to say the sentences together. So I say one sentence, and then you repeat after me. Tega, please, just in case nobody else repeats after me, so that you will not, I will not be shamed.
Let's do this.
So let's
But there may be a bit of misalignment because my network seems to be having a bit of an issue.
No problem.
I mean,
No problem. Okay. So the first one is, sorry, that's not aligned with my capacity.
Sorry,
that's not aligned with my
That's not aligned with my
capacity.
capacity.
Awesome. All of you are here. Hey, that's nice. Okay. Now the second one is, I'll need to revisit that after a rest cycle.
I'll need to revisit that
after a rest
cycle.
Awesome. And then the final one is, I no longer take urgent work requests.
I no longer take urgent work requests.
That's it. That's it. Again, you don't have to use these words. You could be nicer. This is probably corporate speak, but you could be nicer. But the point is, know that you can say no. You actually can. Your boundaries are important. They are very, very, very important. And on this slide, I'm going to ask you a question. What is the one boundary that you know you need to put in place this month? This is the first day of the month, so I love that. What is the one boundary you need to put in place for May? Put it in the chat, raise your hands, share with me. Tega, you know I'm coming for you.
When you've been talking, I was thinking, and I was like, I hear you, but these things, and it needs to be said, that they are hard to commit to, right? I want to commit to, I think I used to have this thing where Sundays were holy, right? It was my day. There was no way you could betray it. But right now, every day feels like a work day, right? And I do not know. I want to really commit to having a day that is my day and not having to do anything that is work related. I think my challenge would be to figure out what day I want to assign for that purpose and how to like set the boundary. I have to like learn at some point to tell work and the people who bring work to my table, hey, look, I am no longer accepting work on Tuesday.
I love that.
Right.
That is it. I am no longer accepting work. That is it. That is perfect. Someone said, thank you so much for sharing that, Tega. I love that. If anyone else feels, because we've actually come almost to the end of the session. So if anyone else feels like they want to share more, please raise your hand and I'll come to you right after this, this slide. So let's move to the next slide. And thank you for sharing in the chat. Someone said, once it's 5 p.m., I stop working, shutting down my laptop at a particular time, listening to my body and resting properly, adopting a holiday, time blocking, not respond to work calls or texts from anyone past 6 p.m. I love it for you. One of the things that I do is trying not to give people my energy first thing when I wake up. The thing about that is the moment you give people your energy, your brain goes into the beta state. That's the beta waves are activated. And you actually want your brain to remain in the alpha, with alpha waves for at least try and sustain it for at least 30 minutes when you wake up. The reason for that is that's when your body is still in a recovery state. And that is a great time for you to reflect, for you to connect dots in your brain. Like your executive function is feeling nice and good. And that is the best time for you to be you, like to pour into yourself. When you make affirmations that at that time of the morning, your subconscious is it gets rewired. So when your brain is in the alpha state, that's when your brain does very well with affirmations. That's when your brain can align opportunities. That's when your brain can see and think clearly. So try to protect your early mornings. Like it's difficult, but the moment you make it a habit, it becomes a habit. At least for the first 30 minutes, don't respond to other people. Don't open your messages. Just focus on you. I wake up and I have silk sheets. I'm a premium babe. So I wake up and I'm like, I love my silk sheets. Just that is enough. Start with that. I'm not saying that you have to do for the silk sheets, but whatever you love when you wake up in the morning is a great way to start. So the final slide, I think this should be the final slide, is from burnout to blessing. What did burnout actually teach me? You can't outwork misalignment. You can't. Rest is not a reward. It is a strategy. Your nervous system is sacred. You're allowed to build slowly. I build slowly and I love it. Nobody can rush me in building my business. Nobody can at all. Intention is more sustainable than intensity. And the final slide, what are the next steps? I am challenging you to journal for the next 5 days, right? Use the wheel of intentional work and, the tools that I shared in the session today to audit and assess your business and your occupation as well. Use the ease method weekly. Revisit this slide deck or the recording whenever you feel overwhelmed. Connect with me and my company online, Instagram, LinkedIn, same name, Yvonne Alozie Obi, Well Working and Living. We have coaching and journaling resources on wellworkingandliving.com. And I think I will work with the host to kind of like get feedback from everyone after the session. And upon sharing your feedback, you can download a free in caps burnout recovery workbook from me. So that will be all. And I am very interested in hearing how this session went for you. What are your key and your biggest takeaways?
Hi. So this session, yes, actually, was very timely, or is very timely, because I'm recently just recovering from burnout and a multiple of different things that they said I was diagnosed with as a result of maybe seeking professional help. And from this session, it basically just from the recovery part to the leading causes of burnout or to the symptoms of burnout, it felt it didn't hit close to home. It basically hit the glass in the house. So it was that, and learning from it made me understand. Going through the whole burnout process reinforced some things in my life. For example, not responding to work messages from a particular time. As someone that can be high intensity work mode, to not being able to even get started on something, it felt very frustrating throughout that period. But as a result of trying to just protect myself, I've had to outright ignore certain things at work, but still get the work done with the most energy possible. But learning from this and this session just helped me realize that it's necessary. Like I would always tell myself during this period, only the living can work, or only the living can get the job done. So, and there was one thing that stood out for me: intention is better than intensity. I think yes, that's what has worked for me over the past few months. I will get the job done. It might not be to your definition of urgency, but it will be done. As long as it's not life or death, it will be done. And it has helped me so far, and it has aided my recovery process. So thank you.
You're welcome. That is a beautiful story. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Obakam, you have your hands up.
Hi everyone. Hi Yvonne. Very great session as usual. For me, I think what I mostly took out from this is I think I sort of like downplay the neurological part of burnout, right? And just seeing how you explain how that can actually affect major parts of our functional brain. Just gave me a whole like brain rewiring and altered my chemistry, right? And this is one thing I'm learning. So it's not even just the surface level, burnout, and it wouldn't just be temporal rest that will solve the problem, but like just knowing that it's deeper than this, right? And you have to go to the root of the problem, to fix up is something that I really took out of this. And also like just taking time to schedule my rest is another thing I took out. Like planning rest as a strategy is something I took out. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I'm glad that your brain chemistry was altered today. That's fantastic. Tega, what did you take out? So we can end at 5:30.
I mean, I'm still contemplating, right? So I'm at that on the chart. I'm at the contemplation phase. So if you ask me what I took out, is the fact that I learned I have to do some work on my boundaries, right? And to that effect, I have a question, but then I know that we are already far gone. I would ask the question, contemplate on it yourself, right? But I'm thinking, hey, for people like me who would need to like do the work on certain boundaries, there will be conflict. And dealing with that conflict itself would also be another stressor, right? So I'm thinking, how would one navigate the potential conflict that would arise from setting boundaries and perhaps doing some of the other tips that, have been mentioned here, right? Maybe in 2-3 minutes, you can say something to speak to that question, and then we can then call it a day.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, because I'm sure everybody here also deals with the same, how do I say no? I think the first thing is being ready to, that's why I say everything we do in life is a choice, right? And sometimes when we say to ourselves, I don't have a choice, I can't say no, why? Is this person going to be angry if you say no? is there going to be conflict? Like in your case, why is protecting the peace in that moment more important than the boundary you have to draw? You have to answer that question when you get the chance. Is protecting the peace so important that you have to bear the brunt and the cost of the situation, right? And if the answer is realizing, okay, no, I'm important here. I'm choosing, if the answer is yes, like I have to protect the peace, then know that you're making that choice. And are you willing to bear the consequences of that choice? That's the thing. Am I willing to bear the consequences of protecting the peace instead of protecting my mental health? One of them. Another thing you can ask yourself is, if the one thing I'm afraid of is conflict, is there another way that I can say no without eroding this relationship? And that's when you can think through, okay, how can I have a healthy conversation around my boundaries with this person? Again, it's not everyone that deserves a conversation. So you have to know who is worth this energy, because conversation is energy. Who is worth this energy? There are some people that are not worth the energy. There are some people that draw the boundary. If they don't want, they go, fine. But if you feel like this person is actually worth it, then let me have a conversation with this person. Most of the time when people are threatened by boundaries, is because there's something they're afraid of. So you also want to emotionally intelligently find out what it is they're afraid of. If they're afraid that the project is not going to succeed, or they don't trust you enough, or like what is it that they're actually really afraid of, and get to the root of the matter. But I'm not going to say, oh, burn all bridges because you're trying to put up boundaries. No, ask yourself, use a filter. And the filter is, what is my biggest fear here? Why am I protecting the peace and so afraid of conflict? Does it have to lead to conflict? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we don't give the other person that agency to actually show up as well and come to a middle ground with you. It doesn't just have to be your job to restore the peace. Sometimes we have to also know that the other person has a sense of agency to meet us in the middle. And we have to give them that opportunity. And if they don't take it, then we know what we need to know about who they are. That's a very quick answer, but does that help in any way?
Oh, yes, sure thing. I think for me, it brings to forward the importance of prioritization here, right? So when you were speaking, you said something about being able to live with the consequences of not having to put that boundary, right? But then there's also the inverse, right? Living with the consequence of putting up a boundary, right? We can all think of all of the possible positive things that could happen, but then there would be some things that would have to go that we would rather that they did not go. But we should be able to like say, hey, this loss in relation to the gain, when we wait, it's a net positive. That's enough to choose, your boundary instead of like trying to protect that peace. And to be honest, is it really peace if it stresses you out so much to disconnect from it?
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah. And very importantly, don't be the only one taking on the emotional labor of protecting the peace. That's over-functioning and over-giving. Another thing that leads to burnout. The other person has to be able to meet you in the middle. They have to also share the load with you in trying to protect the peace.
Oh, thank you so much, Tega. Thank you, Yvonne. So minimalism in this context could be having less desires, right? Fine. The idea in design is less is more, right? So I'm just trying to use it as an analogy to real life scenarios where you are trying to take caution in how much of desires you have, how much you want to do in a day. You are just trying to like focus on the little you can get done that will still translate to more. So does it help, in managing burnout, or or it can also lead you to having leading to you having less ambition, if that's a better way to put it.
Okay, I'm going to answer this question in a very quick way, and I hope it hits. It's like saying there's this thing people who grew up in middle class homes do, where they minimize the beauty of having money so that they can make their children feel content with not being wealthy or with not being in the higher class. Sometimes we can do that as well, because we are so defeated from the rat race, from the hustle. We try to convince ourselves that we don't need these things. That is a counterintuitive way to approach burnout, because desires are not yours to suppress. That's the truth. And you can't train your brain to suppress desires. However, what you can do instead is work from the place of abundance. People don't really understand what abundance is, but abundance is this very radical belief that whatever you have in your life right now is what you are supposed to have. It's wild. It sometimes, you don't have to explain it to everybody, because sometimes unenlightened people would think that you are settling or you're like in your words, not ambitious. But there is this radical belief that if I don't have $10 million today, that's because I probably don't have the capacity to produce $10 million. I don't have the knowledge of how I'm going to manage $10 million yet. I don't have the network for it yet. Or there is a reason why you have everything you have in your life right now. And once you come to peace with it, it changes how you move through life. And you move through life knowing that, okay, what resources do I have in my life right now, and how can I make the best of them? That's it. You go from a place of not complaining and you move into an abundant mindset. You go from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance. You're always thinking of, I have something in my life right now that can help me. And then applying the 80-20 rule is also going to help you build intentionally. Always ask yourself, what is the 20% of work that I need to do that will yield the highest, reward or return? It also helps you work very smartly. So that is a great way to design your to-do list, which is the final thing I'm going to say. Your to-do list shouldn't be about achieving 100 things in a day, but understanding that you have energy cycles. What are the 2 most important things you need to achieve today that will leave you feeling very fulfilled? If you can live your life by that design, by that sense of intention, by that sense of intention, top tier living. That will be my answer for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is so.
Right. Thank you very much, Yvonne. This has been a very insightful session and a very long one. It's the longest that we've ever had. And I'm very grateful to the people who have stayed to this point, because it is because of them that we are still here. If no one was here listening to us, it would have felt a little bit out of place. So yes, a big thank you to all of us that have stayed, to this point. I hope that you've learned a lot. I hope that you have taken all of the learnings and you will be using them, in your career, in your personal life, and you will be on cluttering and setting boundaries that would allow you to be more efficient in your building endeavors, right? So thank you very much. Thank you, Yvonne. Maybe I'm thinking about it. Maybe we'll bring you back on time, and that one would be like a straight up AMA session where we would just ask you all of the questions, right? Because I have questions for you anyway. Right? Okay. So maybe later we can talk about that. Right. All right. So if you are here and you have not yet bought your Builder Summit ticket, please go buy the ticket. We're doing a 30% flash sale till the 3rd of May. So yes, hurry, get your tickets. Tickets are selling out fast. You do not want to miss that event. All right, so thank you very much again, and see you next time.